There's always barf in the bathroom. Oh, here we go.
Hey, that is a good note to start
That's
on
a
right
great way to start.
What a way to start.
It's just so
What up?
accurate. So accurate.
What's going
Always
on, gentlemen?
barf in the bathroom. What's going on,
Always barf in
guys?
the bathroom. Living the dream every day.
Happy College World Series season. A lot happened though. We'll cover that. We'll get into the regionals recap. Looking ahead at super regionals. We'll talk some of that.
Happy Rockies ending the losing streak in series.
Oh God.
Yes.
Don't give this franchise any.
They
credit.
got over 10 wins. Babe, here we go. Hit a roll.
My favorite post, the Rockies-based social media team is trolling their own team. They posted something on X today that said, Rockies total wins since June 2nd, 2. Scotty Scheffler total wins since June 2nd, 0.
0. Yeah.
They posted this on June 4th for all those that don't know the simple math.
That's outstanding.
You'd love to see it. They're trolling their own team with how bad they are. That's how bad they are.
This is the equivalent of like winning a Special Olympics race and flexing on it.
That just hurt.
Ringer.
I'm not gonna say
Johnny Knoxville is a Rocky.
You scratched my CD.
I can count a potato.
Up or down, or up,
up or down. When did we get ice cream? All right.
Oh, I wish they could remake that.
We are off and running, gentlemen. We are off and running.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out real quick because all of us will celebrate Father's Day this year.
Oh, here we go.
Baseballism. If you haven't thought about dad, baseballism is a good place to start. Duke, you got a lid on over there. I am doing laundry, and the hats are in rotation, so they caught me on an off day. None here, but new lids dropping constantly. There's new drops. I get a text probably once every other week for baseballism stuff. It's fresh over there. Go over there, take care of dad, get him something for Father's Day. I think if you order this week, it's guaranteed delivery before Father's Day. Use code PenPals at checkout. Knock 15% off the order. And then, hey, if you're a rambunctious kid, get dad a log of Alps while you're at it. Just saying.
The days of the Father's Day tie and socks gifts are done. You want a handmade colored photo of a dragon? No, I want a log of Alps. Happy Father's Day to me.
Alps high noons and a baseballism goodie bag would be a hit. I would be elated.
I love that. I mean, I could hit for the cycle on Father's Day. Come on, guys.
Yeah, check the show notes. There will be a link for Alps to go in order. Get you a small discount if you use our affiliate link while you're at it. So, yeah, let's get into it. Stretch it out, boys. As always, we do our usual. Looking at batter up.
All right, here we go. Oh, I feel like I know this swing.
Yeah, I got 2 guesses, and I think we all might get it on the first.
All right, I want Dowdy to lead it off.
Alex Bregman.
Done.
No,
that's not Breggy. But I want to see the guess. Clontsy, what say you?
Throw it in, or you want me to give my guess?
Oh, well, let's see. What is your guess?
Christian Walker.
Okay, that was my number 2.
Throw it in. Just knock it out.
Ironic
that kill.
Boom! They got basically the same swing and lost one and gained one.
If it wasn't like the hand placement's the same, the finish is darn near the same. It's the you know how Bregman does like the last final drastic wiggle and then tense up right before the swing? That was the only reason that I was like, maybe not Bregman, but
yeah, the only difference I see is Bregman starts much more vertical. Closed. I think the follow through is exactly the same. I'm with Dowdy, but Walker is flatter. I think.
I had Breggy as a bigger scissor kick guy too.
Yeah,
Walker doesn't scissor a whole lot.
No. Is Breggy a toe tap guy?
I don't know. I don't know if he is anymore. He was for a little while.
Okay.
Also, Joe Ryan. That's a good guy to clip there.
Yeah, it is.
All right. And then
that took so long.
Yeah.
I know.
Woo!
Hey, we had to make up. We've had some struggle on previous ones to where it's about time one shot, one kill.
You just mentioned off of Joe Ryan, talking little Minnesota. How about a shout out to Cody Clemens since getting traded to the Twins?
Going
on an absolute tear right now. Which, by the way, at Philly, he played some third, he played some short, he played some second, he played some first, he played some right, starting in right field right now for Minnesota. I mean, just solidifying himself as a utility guy and hitting for power too. Seems like every other day that there's a social media post about Cody Clemens going dinger sauce.
Hey, I don't know when. I don't know when his contract actually expires.
Yeah,
but I think he's going to get a legitimate free agent deal.
I think he's going to get a legitimate free agent deal and solidify himself as a starter with somebody like at a starting position.
I think
he wants to be a great QB,
like a 5-year, $20 million deal. Where it's you're not overpaying, you're not underpaying. He's going to play a bunch of positions. Worst case scenario, he's utility depth, left-handed bat. I mean, how do you not?
Let's put it this way. Victor Caratini is getting like $6 million a year currently. I think Clemens get a little more than that. But I also think, too, with the utility package that he's bringing to the table now, I don't think he finishes the year in Minnesota. Somebody contending down the line is going to go and say, we need that. I want the depth at least.
I mean, if I'm looking at his swing, I mean, one of the things that's benefiting him right now in Minnesota, that right field overhang definitely plays to a lefty bat and a lefty swing. I mean, left field's not all that short, not all that long at but what is their stadium called? Target Field? Is it in Minnesota?
Yes.
It's not that long in left field at Target Field either, but that overhang in right field certainly helps a lefty bat. But team like New York with a struggling Boston and a struggling Baltimore looking to make a run in the postseason, solidify, get another bat. That's a cheap trade. Doesn't cost a lot. You can throw him at 2B. You can throw him in the outfield. You can throw him at 1B if you need to. I mean, it seems makes all the sense in the world to me.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, love the shout out too, especially it'd be kind of poetic too, going back to New York for Clemens. So
I mean, go back to New York or Boston. We literally a few weeks ago, we're talking to Boston desperately needing a 1B. Clemens has experience playing the 1B.
I mean, on that note, how in the world did the Red Sox not sign Dom Smith back after he just elected free agency? Instead, he goes to San Fran.
Yeah.
Boston, you got to throw the bag at him at that point. You need a first baseman, and he did it for you last year.
Yep.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
The run
that they're on is very well deserved right now.
Yes.
The investments you made in the offseason, not panning out the way you thought, but then just throwing in the towel when this division is still very winnable. Very winnable.
For all the stock that the Netflix documentary built up Breslow for me, it has plummeted since then.
Yeah.
Tough to watch.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see if we can get one more one shot, one kill.
Ooh.
Not likely.
This would be really impressive.
Be the best round ever. I'm gonna back my guy again. Give me Cody Clemens.
I like that.
Let's see it.
What's he even listed as, second baseman?
Yeah. Okay.
So listed as a 2B, righty, United States. We're within 2 years, either 27 or 31, right?
Right. Not AL Central. So actually, because nothing's highlighted, it's NL West or NL East.
NL West, righty, US. How old's Mookie? Mookie's 30, 33, 34, isn't he?
Would he be listed as a second baseman?
No, you're right. He wouldn't.
Well, what does it mean?
He's listed as a shortstop.
32, too old.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about Tommy Edman?
Ooh.
I bet they list him as an outfielder, though.
Left field. No, he's a 2B. Throw that.
Wow.
Throw that.
But we know he's not a second baseman.
Yeah,
you
he's
want
not
to throw
a
it up
second
there?
baseman. No, he's not a second baseman. So it's not Tommy.
Okay. Right.
Or right switch. That's why I went Tommy.
Yeah.
Because I thought they were going to pull something stupid like that. Okay. NL East.
Age is what's throwing me now, too.
27 or 31. Right.
From the
NL
US.
East. NL East or NL West?
Correct.
Derek Hill.
Miami. Let's see, though. 29, though.
Okay, so it's
not
NL West.
NL West. Right. USA. Not a center fielder. God, please don't be a Rocky. A Rocky or a Giant.
Oh, no.
Merrill's a lefty. We need right.
Is it going to be Tatis?
No, because it's American.
That's right. Nope. You're right. Good.
Yeah, he's listed as Dominican. Could also be a pitcher, too.
Yes, it could.
Padres
What
pitcher.
about King?
Yeah.
How old is he?
30.
That fits the bill.
Just give me the starting pitcher. I'll go from there.
Okay.
Logan Webb.
Logan Webb. Throw it in for the win.
Boom.
Bang. Bang.
Well done, gentlemen.
I mean, I put the ball on the tee with Michael King, and Dowdy's going to take
bingo.
Dowdy's going to take the Dowdy hack.
Still waiting on that
Love
Cy
it.
Young web slinger, but I feel like he's going to wind up having like a Wheeler type career where it's like, wow, he was a top 5 Cy Young guy for 8 straight seasons, but never got one.
Yeah.
The guy just goes out and does it.
Yeah. Fringe Hall of Famer on the ballot for all eight times.
Yeah. I mean, he consistent Cy Young vote getter, at least. Probably going to amass somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 WAR, I would guess.
Yeah.
He's going to throw for at least 10 years.
Let's say no injury history. Yeah, that's true.
That's
Consistent output. Yeah. Innings eaters.
Consistency. Horse.
A lot of good things. A lot of things to like there.
Horse.
Among the other interesting Giants things that they've done recently.
Okay. Yeah. That could segue into something really weird in the month of June. So we're going to let that lie.
Let the sleeping dog lie.
Yeah. Okay, I was going on the Lamont Wade Jr. DFA and Sam Huff DFA, but yeah, sure.
Yeah, Bay Area. Just there's the stereotype that goes along with that.
Yeah, they're weird, right? They make some interesting choices. There we go, babe.
Yeah. Okay. We are fresh off of a weekend full of college baseball, which I had not paid enough attention to this previously. This is literally March Madness for baseball. Consumed the entire weekend, and it was fun. I loved it. I watched as much as you could with 3 kids running around the house, but this is fun. A lot of big programs kind of falling, done early, but underdogs rising to the occasion. So regionals are behind us, gentlemen. What is y'all's takeaway? What stands out? Biggest surprise? Who are you most kind of shocked that fell?
Shocked that fell?
Correct.
Honestly, the chalky and the easy answer for me is Texas. But with the injuries and everything that they incurred, and then how they kind of limped into the end of the year, it was not expected, but certainly not uber surprising. The lack of production, both on the mound, lack of depth on the mound, lack of production at the plate. My surprise was Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt was scorching hot going into the end of the season. They were actually going into the SEC tournament. They were projected to be like the number 6 or 7 overall national seed. And then they went on a run and not only won the SEC tournament and won the SEC tournament championship, they were beating the brakes off of teams. They run ruled Tennessee 10-0 in 7 innings. And that was that was their 3rd game played. Like that was their number 3 starter. Number 3 starter. They were on an absolute tear, both offensively and on the mound. And then pitching didn't do horrendous in their regional, but they could not buy a hit. They could not bring runners in when they got them on, and they didn't get them on enough to give themselves a chance. They really surprised me in this postseason.
I'll say too, the SEC overall took it in the teeth. this weekend. Like,
Yeah.
completely. Ole Miss gone. Georgia gone. Vandy gone. Like, you love it to an extent, though, because you saw, not to pour salt on the wound, Duke, but UTSA, watching a lot of those games too. Gross games all around, but it was the team that made the least errors, essentially, who played the cleanest game. Not really anybody dominating, I would say, through the weekend. But
well, teams across the board in all the Power Four conferences, mainly in baseball, the ACC and the SEC, play the stereotypical power big bopper style of baseball, where you've got a lot of power arms, both starting and in the back end of the bullpen. You've got a lot of power bats, and because of that, you don't really play a lot of fundamental, scrappy, dirtbag style baseball. And when you've got these mid majors teams where they need guys to stretch on the mound because they don't have the depth. They need to manufacture runs because they're not going to go up and hit 5-6 home runs in a game on you. I mean, look at how many runs Murray State scored in that weekend in Oxford. And I think they may have had 2 home runs the entire weekend in four games. Like, they scratched and clawed and just singled and gap to gap them their opponents to death. I mean, it was fun to watch these teams play an old-fashioned, and I put that in air quotes, old-fashioned style of baseball and prevail against these heavy favorites.
is there a biggest loser you guys think from the tournament that just, out of all expectations, that had probably the easiest road, somebody that you has the most to be ashamed of, should we say?
It's tough, but I'm gonna give that award to Oregon this year.
Okay.
Oregon's a team where it had to be this year. They've made a super regional last year in College Station, lost by a very narrow margin to an A&M team that went on to compete for the national championship series and came up just in a game, an inning, a run short of a national title. They were returned 80% of their starting, both their starting staff, their bullpen, and their lineup, along with adding some freshmen. I mean, they have a Golden Spikes finalist at second base, hit 27 dingers on the year, a Charlie Condon-esque type season. They couldn't get it done. And by all accounts, they had one of the easier draws. Arizona, Cal Poly, and then good night. I don't even know that logo. Looks like it wasn't Binghamton, but needless to say, their 2 seed being Arizona and 3 seed being Cal Poly, there's a lot of tougher draws out there. And to go out and get beat game 1 by the 4 seed and immediately go into the losers bracket, that's tough. That's very, very tough.
Dowdy, any main takeaways or anything that's glaring to you as far as how this all played out?
I think there's a bunch of interesting nuance that occurred. Duke already touched on the fact that Vandy with the 1 overall seed, that just seems crazy to me. Like, they were scuffling midseason. I get they won the SEC tournament. They got hot at the right time. Giving them the 1 overall is odd to me. I think there were teams that were consistently top 5 for most of the year that deserved the number 1 overall seed, whether that was Texas, Arkansas, somebody along those lines. I think they had a better season because, like we've talked about in the tournament, who knows? Anything can happen in those SEC tournaments, especially when you're a team that already knows you're going to host a regional. You're not trying to get people hurt in the SEC tournament.
No.
Yes, you want the SEC title, but more so you want to be healthy for the regional.
Absolutely.
So for me, that was weird. I didn't like them being a 1 overall seed. I guess that's personal preference. I think the absolute tragedy that happened to West Virginia not hosting a regional, which is something I really wanted to see out of them being the best Big 12 team. Like,
by far.
pretty much hands down. And they don't get a host regional. Okay, that's rough. So then they go in and take the regional. I love seeing that. I think they got a rough draw having LSU now, and they're super. Having to go to the box after winning on the road. I mean, I think if there's a team that can probably handle going into a big environment, it's probably West Virginia. But I feel like they're a big loser from the standpoint that they did their job all year long, got shafted in the regional, and now are getting LSU in a super. That's tough.
Yep.
Another loser, I would say, is Arkansas. They win the regional and then have Tennessee coming to town. Like, you look at some of the other regionals, and we got who's Duke even playing? Murray State.
Duke.
Yeah.
But see that, and that's the thing. Duke got matched up. Their 1 seed was Ole Miss. Duke, first of all, wasn't
should not
supposed
have been
to
a 1 seed, in my opinion.
Duke wasn't a 1 seed.
No. Ole Miss should not have been, in my opinion.
No, that's to your point, talking about West Virginia. 2 teams that I think got absolutely shafted from hosting a regional are the ACC and Big 12 champions. I mean, West Virginia won the Big 12 by a wide margin, and they did not get to host. Georgia Tech won the ACC outright over North Carolina, over Florida State, over Clemson, and they did not get to host. They had to go into Oxford as a 2 seed. I mean, it was egregious that neither of those teams got to host. And Georgia Tech, I mean, not to pour salt in the open wound, their longtime 18, 20-year head coach, it's been there forever. This was his swan song. This was his final season. And they robbed him of hosting a regional at their stadium in his final year. I know you can't tie too many emotions to it, but that's what made it stung a little bit more for me. And now you look at Duke getting to match up with a Murray State in a super. I mean, these supers to me, even with upsets, and I know having a Cinderella story automatically makes it look like there's an easy upset, but they're not very well balanced. I mean, West Virginia not getting to host, going in, taking care of business, and winning the regional that they were sent to. Guess where they get to go for a super? They get to go to Alex Box and play 3 games against LSU. Wolf.
Who arguably have the best starting pitching staff in the nation right now.
Arguably had one of the best offenses all year.
Yeah. Which, Duke can speak to this more than anybody because he's played in super regional.
Mm-hmm.
Starting pitching is kind of what matters in the super.
Imperative. Like the entire postseason, regional tournament, and the first 4 games you play in Omaha are the same format. You need to go 1-0, but that 1-0 game is the most important. In a super regional, a best 2 out of 3 series, game 1 is the most vital, because it gives you the cushion to be able to say, we're still going to throw our number 2 starter, but we can attack this win. But if things get out of hand, then we can play for tomorrow. Whereas if you're on the flip side of that and you're 0-1, this is all you got. Go down big, go up big. You have to win today. You cannot play for tomorrow.
I guess part of me is trying to understand why they situated the supers the way they did.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a regional going on in Corvallis and Eugene, why would you not have those 2 paired up as a super?
Geographically, it never makes sense.
But case scenario, then you have the Civil War happening for your super. Is that not what you want when you're trying to get all the viewership possible?
Absolutely.
Instead, now you've got a Florida State team going all the way to Oregon State. Like, come on. You're telling me Florida State LSU isn't a better matchup?
You have UTSA, or what would be if it was the perfect situation, like the one, I want to say perfect, the 2 1 seeds, UCLA going all the way to Austin. Now you have UTSA going all the way to Los Angeles. You have Florida State going all the way to Corvallis to play Oregon State. You have Arizona going all the way to Chapel Hill and playing North Carolina, when North Carolina, West Virginia, those neighboring states by any means in any way. And wouldn't you think West Virginia would take going to Chapel Hill or LSU?
Yeah, I believe North Carolina and West Virginia played in the regional last year. So there would also be some animosity there.
And a great storyline. And if I do recall, I think West Virginia beat North Carolina in the non-conference series this year, just one of the early weeks of the season.
And to that point again, you've now got Durham and UNC Chapel Hill hosting supers 10 miles apart.
Mm-hmm.
How make it make sense?
So absolute craziness. I do want to go through. Does Clontsy, you got any more storylines you want to hit on before we get into predictions?
No, let's hit the next round. Supers. Let's see what you
So
guys
we're
think.
at supers, and I've got the list in front of me. Again, if you know a lot about the teams, great. If not, let's just fire away a pick, because we want to establish the Omaha 8. I want your Omaha 8 here. So starting off, in Louisville, Kentucky. We have the red hot Miami Hurricanes going to Louisville, Kentucky to play the Louisville Cardinals. Who do we got in that series?
Throw up the L. Come on.
No.
Yep. Storied program. I think being that they're hosting gives them the edge, without a doubt. Miami, I think, may have more talent overall, but, and now gates are getting down. Don't worry. If my house falls down, we're still okay. Give me Louisville. I think the host is the thing that matters in that series, without a doubt. Forcing Miami on the road to probably what's going to be colder at this point in the year. It's still not real hot in Louisville. Yeah, give me the Birds.
That park turns up. That park can fit a lot of folks in that park. And Miami took care of business on the road, but they were in the Hattiesburg regional. And I know they can turn up in Hattiesburg, but when you want to talk about like a better draw, going to Coastal, going to Hattiesburg, like I would have taken those draws over some of these other regional hosts.
Miami kind of escaped Hattiesburg too. Let's not forget that. There were a couple games that came down to literally the last out with runners on. Balls hit to the wall. Like, And Southern Miss didn't play great. I had Southern Miss winning that, and
I mean, Miami can swing it. I'm worried about their pitching depth. Louisville's got a great offense, but I'm worried about their offense getting stymied a little bit by the pitching, by the rotation. Louisville has a fantastic Friday night guy. I mean, Texas, I think at one point in the year was like 21-1. Guess who that one loss was to? It was Louisville and their Friday night guy just shoving it down their throats. I mean, they've got a stud on Fridays and they've got a staff.
And I think if it comes down to, like we're kind of talking about, offenses being stymied, I think Louisville is consistently the better manufacturer of runs.
Absolutely.
The more, hey, this is how we're going to get it done in a super regional team. Not, hey, let's go ball.
100%. Yeah. Clontsy, what say you?
I'm going Miami personally, but it's just based off track record. There's some validity to what Dowdy's saying as far as just where it's at, but this is what always gets me in trouble. I take the mentality I do during March Madness too. Logically, who should win, and nobody's had a perfect bracket yet. So
convicts versus Catholics. That's you, buddy. We're all in on the U. I get it.
And you're right. And you're riding the postseason hot streak. I mean, when a team gets hot at the right time, in certain methodology, you're not going to be the one to stop them. But
what say you then?
So I'm Louisville as well. I'm agreeing with Dowdy. I just think their staff, I think specifically how important winning game one is. Their Friday night guy had a phenomenal Miami's Friday night guy had a phenomenal outing against Alabama. He did. Their offense definitely helped him settle in. I think it's going to be an absolute pitcher's duel on Friday. And like Dowdy said, I think the better manufacturer of runs being Louisville, they just their versatility allows them to win games in multiple different ways. I think gives them an edge. And then of course, playing at home in Louisville gives them the slight edge there. So I'm going Louisville. Moving to the Pacific Northwest to Corvallis, Oregon State dropping game one to St. Mary's and battling all the way back from the losers bracket to win theirs and play an undefeated Florida State team. Who do we got on this one, boys? Clontsy, let's lead off this. Let you lead off this one.
Just based off momentum, again, logic says Florida State, but I'm not gonna. Yeah, it's not gonna be perfect anyway. I'll say Florida State, just based purely off momentum.
Dowdy.
So, taking in everything that Mr. Duke has said thus far in this segment, I think you want to lean Florida State. They have arguably the best pitcher in college baseball as their Friday night guy. What I think makes the difference is I think Oregon State's pitching staff is deeper. Yep. I think you get into game 2 and 3, and you're going to have to roll bullpen arms out, and that's when things get hairy because both teams can swing it. We already know that. I'm going Oregon State. I think part of it being in Corvallis and the other part being Oregon State consistently does this. They consistently rely on, okay, who are our 4 guys out of the pen that are going to come in on the weekend? They're each going to probably throw 4 innings, shorten games, and it's more of a pro ball mentality at that point where it's like, hey, you just lock down your 2 innings and we'll handle the rest.
That's it.
I think Oregon State's going to take it just for the pure fact the bullpen is better.
If going into game 3, 1-1, obviously, is there a chance you see Jamie Arnold twice, you guys think?
I don't think so. I think it'll
No,
kill.
because it's honestly it's going to take him 90 plus pitches to win Friday. So that's why I
Okay.
say no.
And on top of that, like, if he is a young man that is wise, he will say no, because your injury risk goes through the roof to run back out there after one day off.
Run
For
it
a
in.
guy
Most
that's
pitchers
going to be a top 5 pick.
Correct.
Exactly. You
Okay.
got like majority of the time, and I'm knocking on wood as I say this, arm injuries don't occur because of an extended single outing. They occur of coming off of an outing too soon or not allowing enough rest, rehab time in between outings, or taking care of yourself in between outings. That overuse over a finite amount of time leads to the injury, not as frequently the stretching of one. So in that game, if Florida State's playing anyone else in the super regionals, truly for me, any other team in this regional other than Oregon State, or I'll throw LSU in
Yep.
like for the
That
same
was the other
reasons,
team I was looking at.
for the same reasons, I think Florida State would win it because they could come out with Jamie Arnold on Friday, stymie a team, win game 1, and then just need to win 1 of 2, and their offense can take them there. But you look at a team like Oregon State, the same methodology that I put into when a team's hot in the postseason, look out, no matter who they are, because when you're hot, you're hot. But there's something also to be said about a team like Oregon State where they've dealt with adversity already in this postseason. They got stifled game 1 against St. Mary's, upset by a 4 seed. They had to win 4 games in a row to get out of the losers bracket, to get out, or 3 games in a row. No, 4 games in a row to get out of their regional. And that shows
That's momentum too.
That's momentum too. So
Yeah.
that shows their depth of pitching. Like Dowdy says, you do not win those games against the teams they do without that depth of pitching. But also, just similar to my take on Louisville, it shows multiple ways to win games. And then again, you put them at their home stadium, they show up and show out in Corvallis. They don't have a lot to cheer on from the football standpoint. Baseball has been their pride and joy for the last, I would say, decade. Oregon State's been a blue blood or a powerhouse in college baseball. I'm giving it to Oregon State because even if Jamie Arnold goes out and throws a complete game shutout on Friday and they go down 0-1, Oregon State's got the depth to stymie a Florida State offense and get into their bullpen and force them to use depth, and that's when they're going to strike. And that's not even factoring in that Oregon State has a very streaky offense, has a very powerful, potent offense that not only can manufacture runs, they can take you deep too. So give me Oregon State in that series for the reason I just mentioned. Now
Going across the coast again.
Back across the coast, Chapel Thrill. Going coast to coast, east to west, Chapel Thrill. The Arizona Wildcats going to Chapel Thrill and playing the Heels. Boys, who do we got here?
Dowdy, go first on this one.
Ooh, the Big 12.
Give me the U of A, baby. Give me U of A. Part of this is I'm rooting for my recruiting coordinator, Trip Couch, who is out there at U of A now. I also just like the fact that U of A plays a brand of baseball that continually is competitive. UNC feels streaky to me. They had trouble in their own regional. They really struggled with an Oklahoma team that I didn't think was that good.
Yep.
I think U of A has shown when they play clean baseball, they can beat pretty much anybody, as shown in the Big 12 tournament. I'm interested, but I think U of A's got it. Again, for some reason, they have the grinder mentality versus UNC that feels a little more buttoned up. We're going to celebrate a home run in the first inning by beating our chest and this and that, and U of A is just going to get to work. That's just who they are. They're blue collar. They're bringing their lunch pail. Give me U of A with the upset.
Especially at a ballpark like UNC, that stadium does not play small. That stadium plays gap to gap. It plays to a small ball style of baseball, and that's U of A's wheelhouse. And then I'm stuck on this one because as postseason in the past have shown us, they call it Chapel Thrill for a reason. Some magical, crazy things happen more often than not in favor of the Heels in Chapel Hill. I feel like I would have gotten a better. I agree with you, Dowdy. I love the grittiness, griminess, scrappiness of U of A baseball. I would say the selflessness and lack of pride on the team.
Yes.
Truly playing for the guy to your right and to your left. I see that in that team.
It's a very different culture between the two teams.
Exactly.
Very different.
Had I gotten a better sample size of U of A against an Oregon team in that regional tournament, had Oregon won game 1 against I don't even remember the team selfishly, like that, how bad is that? But had they won game 1 and Arizona would have played them and gotten their true number 2 guy. And because when Arizona got Oregon, they were piecemealing. They showed the lack of depth in the bullpen and on the pitching staff. And I don't want to say Arizona benefited from that because you still have to shut down that extremely talented national ranked offense, but they were the benefactors of a depleted pitching staff. If I'd have got a better sample size, I'd feel more comfortable going Arizona. And then again, the home field advantage, I'm going UNC on this one.
That was where my bias kicks into here, where my sample size and exposure to these two teams this past weekend was minimal, but the home field advantage is where I would go. I'll say UNC on that one as well.
All right, now in a shocking turn of events, we're staying east, south, southeast, east coast, going to Auburn, Alabama, the red hot Auburn Tigers, young and red hot Auburn Tigers, drew Coastal Carolina coming into Auburn. I'll make this quick. I think Auburn's going to take it in 2. I think it's going to be a very quick series. I think that, Coastal is a good squad. Don't want to doubt the mighty Chanticleers of Coastal Carolina, one of the best mascot names in all of college sports. I just think Auburn's too hot right now. The biggest thing that could be your biggest downfall and also your biggest accolade when you've got a very young roster is when you're hot, you're hot. And when you're cold, you are ice cold. Auburn battled a little coldness. They got swept in Austin. They dealt with some adversity. They've ended the year strong. They had a solid showing in the SEC tournament, and they walked through a not extremely favorable draw in their regional. I'm trying to find who did Auburn draw? NC State, a red hot Stetson team. Shout out to the Hatters for the performance they put on in the Auburn regional. But I just think Auburn takes it quick. What say you?
Dowdy.
Give me Clontsy. No, okay. Give me Clontsy.
I'll go Auburn just because again, red hot, but I'm looking at the draft boards too. Ike Irish is a name that I think is going to probably – logically, I bet he might fall. Pipeline has him at 20, 21, somewhere in there as far as the prospect list goes. I think he'll go the bottom of the first round. I think he's a sleeper pick. Just a gamer to the point to where he will stand the test of time and develop well. Catcher as well, just though they're undersold. I think a hitting catcher is a hard asset to come by, to where I think it'll play well. That's just kind of a guy I'm watching, so I'll stick with Auburn.
Dowdy, are you zigging when we're zagging?
You're darn right I am. Give me Coastal, baby. I want the dog. Give me the dog. I think Coastal consistently the last few years has been one of those teams where it's like, oh, man, people are kind of underestimating him. People are kind of underestimating him. I don't know that they're underestimated at this point, but I think they've built up enough of a track record to know they can hang with a team like Auburn. I think, again, we're talking about two teams that have had long win streaks this year. It's going to be a battle of wills. I think overall Coastal has the bats. I think you saw that against ECU.
Yep.
Put up 18 runs. I'm a sucker for a good home run fest. I hope Coastal goes in there and just absolutely blows their doors off game 1. And then, hey, game 2, whatever, roll the dice, and we get a really nice rubber match on game 3. But give me Coastal. Give me Coastal.
Especially when when that Coastal stadium, it plays like a graveyard and they're still bombing it out of that park. You go to Auburn, Alabama, and you face down the blue monster in left field, 310 with a 20-foot wall. Oh, elevate and celebrate all day. It's going to be a slugfest in that super regional. And go ahead.
It's just, to that point, I feel like Auburn is always the team. We're like, oh, yeah, they're really good this year. And then they blow it. That feels like the
In all
story for the
sports.
last
In all
5
sports.
years.
Yeah.
In the big,
It's
in
like-
all three big sports.
They're really good, and then they blow it. And then they're really good, and hey, this is the year, and then they blow it. And I'm like,
Basketball,
it's hard for me
football.
to not think it's coming. I get they're at home. I
Ooh.
get they're in comfort. I think Coastal's going to be a fan of the fact that they're on the road. I think they kind of, again, harness that JUCO mentality. We're like,
Yeah.
oh, no, go ahead, doubt us. Go ahead. We don't care.
Yeah.
I
Don't get
think
me
that's-
wrong. I want the Shant in Omaha.
I'm going culture picks for the most part in these regional or these supers.
You're going with the Omaha 8 that you want to see. Maybe not
Yes.
necessarily, kind of a blend with who you want to see versus who you could actually see. Because I can see the case, but I'm still doubling down. I think Auburn's too hot. But transitioning from the slugfest regional we're talking about to, for a baseball purist, this is likely going to be your favorite regional. If you are a fan of the new age of baseball, this is probably going to be your least favorite. Two teams that play off of pitching, defense, and scrappiness. UTSA and UCLA in Los Angeles. What a series this is going to be from a fundamental standpoint. I'm going to defer to you guys because I've been thinking about this one. Obviously, there's a sore spot in old Duke's heart when it comes to this regional because Texas got upset by UTSA, but honestly could not have had a better team with a better coaching staff on a better streak right now. Upset the Horns, but UTSA, UCLA, Dowdy, lead us off. What do you think?
Give me the dog. UTSA, let's go. I think their statement win of a regional at UT is huge. I think they went into a bigger environment in Austin. Going out to the West Coast and UCLA, the environment's not going to be like that. West Coast baseball is not rowdy like the SEC baseball is. I think they're going to be able to just be who they are. And when those big moments come, rise to the occasion.
Yep.
I don't think this UCLA team is as power stacked as they've been in the past, where it's normally like pitching heavy and they're just dominating teams. I don't see that. I do think both these teams are fundamentally sound. They're going to bump guys over. They're going to do jobs. I think UTSA has more of that grinded out mentality in the box versus UCLA being, okay, hey, bump this guy over. Okay, this guy's going to drive him in. We're just doing jobs. I think UTSA is a better group of competitors. I think they showed that in the regional where it's like you saw them in the first game versus Texas, and we were chatting the whole time during that game. They never gave an inch. Never gave an inch. And UTSA does some things that none of us were happy about. You blow a lead as a pitcher and then you tie the game or you leave it tied and you're beating your chest walking off the mound. Tired. Sorry. Get out of here. Don't need that. But I don't remember who the guy was that came in after him. I don't remember his name. But him going those 3 innings afterwards and backdooring curveballs, those are the guys that are going to matter in a super to me. Somebody out of the pen where you're like, hey, here's the ball. Go get 10 outs.
Yeah. I think UTSA is going to take this one as well. And I think they're going to get their first berth to Omaha. And the biggest reason why UTSA, in my opinion, is the best team and of all these super regional teams at doing one thing, and it's getting and keeping momentum. They know how to grab the momentum, whether it's offensively, defensively, offensively hitting a bomb, offensively manufacturing runs and getting pumped for a sack fly or a push bunt past the pitcher to score a run, manufacturing a run, having a stellar outing on the mound, getting out of an inning, even if it's self-induced jam, or making a phenomenal play in the field. They are the best team out of the remaining teams in these supers at capturing momentum, but then keeping it. They don't take their foot off the gas. And when you say a phrase like that, you think they're just going to bomb you to death. They're just going to bomb you to death. No, they're not. But they don't take their foot off the gas. Similar to, and we'll get to them in a second, what Murray State did in Oxford. They never took their foot off the gas against Texas in Austin. UTSA never did. Every time Texas got a rally or got some momentum, they stepped on their throats. They capitalized on mistakes. They kept the momentum. For that reason, I think that they're going to gain it in a ballpark, in an atmosphere, like you said, that's not as potent as not just a biased Texas fan here in the ACC or the SEC environment. And I think they're going to capture that momentum, and I think they're going to ride it to a win. I could see it going 3 games easy because the teams are very evenly matched on paper and stylistically evenly matched. But I wouldn't be surprised if UTSA pulled a 1-2 punch and got to Omaha. Clontsy?
I think it goes 3, and I'm stating the obvious, but it's kind of smack dab between you two guys. But the takeaway I saw from UTSA this weekend is they won all their games by playing the cleanest game. Even if there was like the errors defensively, there's some shaking your head, what are you doing type moments. But if they can come out and just play a cleaner game than UCLA, stating the obvious, I think they can get it done. But I think there's a loss in there somewhere. I'm saying it'll go the full 3. But let's see. Got to pull for the last Texas team in the tourney. Let's see the runners.
All right. So all 3 of us are on the Birds.
Personally, it kind of feels like a buttoned up Division I versus like a grimy JUCO team that's just like, no, we're gonna outcompete you. Like, we don't care about your blue chips, we don't care about your 5 stars, your NIL money. Yeah. Miss us with that.
You guys spend plenty of time in the locker room flattening your bills of your caps and making sure your stirrups are perfectly synced up in height and not popping out of your cleats, and making sure your pant legs are folded perfectly. We're just going to come out and strap it on and play baseball.
Yeah, that's
you guys take your chartered flight home. Our bus will be there in a day and a half.
Enjoy your acai bowls before the game.
Give me some Cracker Barrel.
We're gonna get some birria tacos and consomme, and we have still a little consomme dripping in the corner of our mouth and shove it up your rectum.
Yeah. I think we're all in agreement. Also,
absolutely love it.
Who was even in UCLA's regional besides UC Irvine?
I just looked that up because Arizona I was State. Curious myself. UCLA State, 1 seed, State. UC Irvine 2, Arizona State 3, Fresno State 4.
Okay, so we had a UC Irvine team that was okay most of the year. Okay, not outstanding. Probably not a 2 seed.
Yeah.
ASU was one of the last teams in as a 3 seed. And then a 4 seed that it's like, really? That's who won? What is it? The WCC that they won?
Yep.
Or the WAC, one of the 2? Like, that feels like a very light regional.
Yeah, no, very. I think it was one of the lighter regionals, and a lot of it was geographically matched up in the regional. And I think they got the benefit of that because, you had 2 regionals in Oregon that sucked up a lot of teams that maybe weren't regional matchups. So UCLA got a favorable draw on the regional, and they didn't knock my socks off in their own regional. So
correct.
Love.
Now, if Cal Poly would have been in that regional and they would have beat Cal Poly as well,
different story.
I would have a whole lot more stock in them. Again, not that UT had a hard regional, but I think UTSA was one of the better teams that we saw all weekend last weekend.
I think HCU was a very favorable draw as a 4 seed. I think Kansas State, similar to Arizona State and UCLA's regional, was one of the last 4 in. And it showed in their performance in the regional and their lack of depth after Friday night, after the one guy. But UTSA, Texas won 2 games in their regional, and it was against the 4 seed and the last 4 in 3 seed. UTSA won 3 games, and 2 of them were against the number 2 team in the country.
Exactly. And I think that holds a lot of stock.
Holds a lot of stock. And you give a team that already plays with a chip on their shoulder confidence. They didn't have swagger. They didn't have confidence going into the first game against Texas, and they went down on a 6-1 lead, but they never, ever took their foot off the gas. They kept competing, kept playing. They went into that Sunday night game with confidence. It didn't ever look like Texas was in it, and that's coming from a Texas fan. So I love that we're all in sync on the Birds. Another fun one to talk about, the Duke Blue Devils drawing Murray State out of the Oxford Regional. Red hot Murray State going to Durham to play the Duke Blue Devils. Who do we got, Mr. Clontsy? What do you think?
I'm looking at scores to try to develop somewhat of an argument on this one. This is another one of lack of exposure. But just based off the strength of the regionals that they came out of, I've got to say Duke, right? Just based off the teams they had to beat to get there, logic says it's got to be the Blue Devils.
the way they're swinging it right now, I'll make mine really quick so Dowdy can go in. I know there's a dog, and I know he's eager to talk about it. Going to Athens and playing at that ballpark, Cracker Jack Park won, but it's very tough to beat Georgia at home. And Duke mollywopped them. I mean, Duke swung the bats, and now they get to go play at home against. And no slouch at Murray State. They have competed their tails off so far. If there's two teams red hot momentum, I'm going to give it to the team with I think the stronger sticks and the deeper pitching staff. I'm going to give it to Duke to win in Durham. But my heart wants Murray State to take it and get to Omaha in the same way I want UTSA to win it and go to Omaha. The same way I want Coastal Carolina to win it and get to Omaha. But I still take Duke in this one. What do you think, Dowdy?
As much as I want to root for the dog, I can't. Give me Duke. They're at home. Hey, these Murray State boys probably ain't been in a big city recently to go out. All of a sudden, they got Tobacco Road. Who knows what they're going to get into Friday, Saturday night. Give me Duke. They're playing at home. This is a situation and a moment that they've played in before. Maybe not in the supers in this way, but they've played in big games. They've got a rivalry series right down the road where they continually play Chapel Thrill. I think they just have more of a seasoning to them than Murray State does.
And I think Murray State is going to face a more seasoned, better pitching staff across the board in Duke than they faced in that regional, mainly against Ole Miss. Ole Miss has been kind of a question mark on the bump pretty much the entire year, and they could not miss a barrel. I mean, Murray State barreled everything up. And if you told me I need to take a team that barreled up Ole Miss pitching or a pitching staff that shut down Georgia's offense at home in that Cracker Jack Park where they love to feed the trees, I'm going to take the team that stymied Georgia's offense, so I'm taking Duke.
And you know what Duke has? And I say this very lovingly.
Duke has great arms?
They've got nerds. So they've got people on staff and players that are going to think through the approach that they saw from Murray State in their regional and go, okay, yeah, they bludgeoned the baseball. But what were the counts? What were the situations? What were they doing? What were they looking for? How did we exploit that?
How did they bludgeon the baseball?
Correct.
Where did they hit it? They didn't elevate and celebrate a ton. Everything were low-level line drives, a lot of flat swing paths, a lot of choke and poke attack on offense, a lot of small ball. How do you play that? How do you pitch to that? How do you shift the defense to account for that? I could not agree more with you, Dowdy.
Yep.
All right, two more, the little more marquee matchups. Mr. Dowdy, I'm excited to hear you. You're going to lead this one off. In Baton Rouge at Alex Box Stadium, the West Virginia Mountaineers going to face LSU, a red-hot LSU team and a Friday night starter in Kate Anderson that is a stud, going to be a top prospect this year. Dowdy, why do you think the Mountaineers are going to take it?
So, as we talked before we were recording, LSU may have the best 1-2 punch in the country, starting pitching wise. Do I think that matters in this series? No. I think West Virginia, along with all the other picks I've taken, is a team that is just going to grind out at bats. That's just who they are to a core. We saw it against UNC last year in a regional. Give me West Virginia in this. I don't know why. I don't know how. I think LSU's bats are a little streaky for me. There seems to be some situations where it's like, wait, you're down 7-1 to Little Rock? Like, how'd we get here? What you're getting shut down by 88 with a slider? Or hang on. Like, just a whole lot of question marks there. And then you get in the bullpen and you get outside of their one or two arms in the pen and Case and Evans. All of a sudden, you kind of start getting worried with bullpen arms. Maybe it's a fact that they didn't throw quite enough high leverage innings in season to stand up. Maybe they're young. I don't know. The two-headed beast in their starting pitching staff does worry me, but I think West Virginia has just enough of that grinder attitude to get through the series, force game 3. And in game 3, everybody knows anything can happen.
Oh,
like
yeah.
You get one arm in the bullpen that's hot, and all of a sudden he goes 4 shutout, and you're like, who's that guy? Never even heard of him. Happens all the time. And yeah, Also, just want to see West Virginia in the World Series. I think that would be so much fun.
Boom. Clontsy.
And they got screwed out of hosting a regional, which is
yes,
annoying.
they did. Yes, they did. Clontsy, what say you? Who's taking it at Baton Rouge?
No way. You cannot tell me the pitching. I understand the streakiness offensively, but we're not going to talk about Chase Shores. We're not going to talk about Anthony Ianson. Like, we're not even talking about the big name Friday night guy. I just think the depth pitching wise, I understand bats are streaky.
Shore, I don't trust. We saw it in a regional. Ianson, yes, disgusting. But like I said, it's the late innings that worry me. You can't have Case and Evans throw back-to-back Friday, Saturday, and throw 3 innings apiece. Not going to happen.
I can't. This feels like a David Goliath scenario that will probably, I'll end up eating my words next week or whatever, whenever we talk. But it feels like the no-brainer that I'm not going to walk away from for me. So
Fair.
if you remove the Texas teams out of it, if there's a school that I probably pull for 9 times out of 10, it's LSU. So it's go Tigers for me.
So
that's it.
I think on that, part of what worries me is how they didn't handle business in their regional. They gave up a game to Little Rock. They should have never should have needed to go to the final game playing a team that was sub 500 on the season. That tells me right there's something in that locker room that they're not all bought in. They're not all pulling the same direction. Or they think they're better than what they are.
Which maybe a loss like that
at home.
Those type of games in the regional, though, maybe that's your wake-up call. Maybe that's
all right. So am I the tiebreaker here?
Yeah. Stick with your lefties.
Give me the Mountaineers.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. A team that's been, first of all, I'm going to go down 3 different points right here. First point, we talk about a raucous crowd. They played their regional in Clemson, South Carolina. I don't know if you've seen the bullpens at Clemson Stadium and seen those videos where basically they're down the line, first off, but all they are cutouts into the bleachers to where there's nets up. But while you're warming up on the right mound of the visitor's bullpen, you are quite literally 4 feet away from Clemson fans on the net.
That bullpen, you're feeling their hot breath on you as you
they are close enough to where they could spit on you just by talking, like not launching a loogie, like just talking. They can Sammy Sprinkler on you. Like,
what a callback.
They had to play in that stadium, and they handled business against Clemson. Now, is Clemson the same team as LSU? No. So let's get into that a little bit. So I like LSU for their pitching staff. I do. Offensively, they've got a lot of talent. They do. But in this instance right now, we talked a lot about hot streaks so far. We talked a lot about grittiness. West Virginia has just dog walk teams all year. And when they've slipped up or had a midweek loss to so-and-so over here, they've gone out and taken care of business the next day. And they were livid that they did not get to host in their beloved metropolis called Morgantown for a regional, and having to go play and one of the more hideous draws for a regional team, regional 2 seed. I mean, going to Clemson, 1, we should have hosted. Now you send us to Clemson. That's 1 middle finger. Second, the 3 seed being Kentucky, a scrappy team like Kentucky, that's middle finger number 2. I mean, just getting put into a horrible draw and then getting matched up with a Baton Rouge regional to have to go to Baton Rouge for a super. Like West Virginia, to me, if they take this series, which I think that they will, I think Cade Anderson's going to have a phenomenal outing. LSU showed a little too much shakiness offensively for me. They are pendant on 3-4 guys. If they have 1 or 2 guys, X factor, the reason they beat Little Rock, their catcher got hot and hit 2 bombs. Jared Jones finally found a barrel for the first time since May 17th. And statistically, he did not have an extra base hit since May 17th before that bomb in the 9th inning. Alex Box is a very tough place to play. But so is Clemson, South Carolina. And West Virginia showed they could do it there. Give me the Mountaineers and to shock the world and beat LSU in the box. And then coming out of their regional, coming out of Baton Rouge in a super, then getting to go to a neutral site and letting the Mountaineer fans travel to Omaha, Nebraska, a place that should feel like a flat home away from home, I think they can make a run at a title this year, candidly. So give me West Virginia to go into Alex Box, beat LSU. It will go 3 games. To win that series, it will go 3 games. But then it's going to play into exactly what Dowdy said. In the same way they can fart out a brand guy out of the bullpen, throw 4 innings, and shut everybody down, that same guy is a flip of the coin. That same guy could have an bad outing just as quick as he could have a good one. So give me West Virginia there. I know you're an LSU fan, Clontsy. Oh, ipso facto, like root for him when nobody else is playing kind of fan.
Right.
But still, nonetheless, there's a little bias there. So West Virginia taking that one, in my opinion. Lastly, in what Arkansas should be livid at in Fayetteville. Powerhouse SEC matchup in Fayetteville. Tennessee going to Arkansas. Clontsy, I'm going to let you lead this one off. What do you think? Tennessee, Arkansas.
Okay. I am more intrigued by like the matchup probably on Friday, game 1, because we're looking at
Roots and Doyle.
Exactly. I'm intrigued to see that more so than I am probably the rest of the series. But just based off the team on paper the rest of the way, how do you not give it to Tennessee?
See, I actually agree with you on this one because we talked before. If you're a guy like Jamie Arnold or you're a guy like Liam Doyle and you throw Friday night or you throw a Friday night, would you come back in relief on Sunday? Doyle did that in game 5 of that regional. And while I don't think it was smart from a health perspective, and while I think his antics deserve a shameful spot in baseball, like let's tone it down kind of thing, like let's calm it down guy. But I think that outing was imperative for Doyle to, again, air quotes, get his swagger back. Doyle had been struggling to end the year. His 2 outings going into the SEC, last 2 outings going into the SEC tournament, shaky for his standards, but SEC tournament goes out in a kind of at the time, lukewarm Texas offense runs him after 4. I mean, it was shaky. And then his first outing against Wake, or first outing in the regional, wasn't his normal standard, wasn't his gold star top 10 overall recruit or blue chip prospect standard. He came in that relief outing and he showed his stuff. He dominated. And if you're asking me, I think Arkansas's got the more well-rounded pitching staff. I think they have the more well-rounded offense. I think they can beat you in a lot of ways. But Tennessee is that kind of streaky where they can go on cold streaks and lose 3 out of their last 4 SEC series, but they could also get hot and run you for 5 in a row. And they're on a hot streak right now. I think I take Doyle versus Root. I'm taking Doyle purely from what I saw at the end of that regional in Tennessee, in Knoxville. So after that, you turn it over to game 2. I take Phillips. I take Phillips over. I can't even remember Gage for Arkansas. Now, if it becomes a game 3 and it goes to the battle of the bullpen, Arkansas can get the advantage because they've got Gabe Gackle coming out of the bullpen, and Gackle's a stud. But I'm in that ballpark, even with a raucous crowd. I'm still taking the Volunteers.
So you touched on something I think is very important in this series. Arkansas, as we've all now said, is the more complete team.
Yep.
They seem to be a little more polished. They seem to know who they are. You know what I think Tennessee is? I think they're the more competitive team.
Yes.
I think they refuse to lose in big situations. They have so much taken on the persona of the bad guys that they're not going to let it fly. They're not going to be okay with going out there and losing the series.
Nope.
It's just not in their team identity. So because of that, and as much as we all dislike the antics, I'm giving it to Tennessee. I think there's one thing that their pitching coach, Frank Anderson, does better than anybody in the country, and it's identify competitors. He's not going to roll somebody out there in a game that he isn't completely bought in on how competitive they are. It's not going to be a situation where it's like, oh, well, he's got good numbers. He'll take a guy with a 5.5 that he thinks is going to compete his balls off over a guy with a 2. Because I know what he's made of. I know when the chips are down, what he's going to do. He's not going to roll out there and walk the next 3 guys. He's not going to let the moment overwhelm him. He's going to stay on attack, and he doesn't care. That's just who he is, and that's who they breed. And I think we've seen that from Vitello at this point, where the bats kind of have the same identity, where it's like, look, we don't care if we punch out 3 times at the beginning of the game because we're hunting for that one pitch. And how many times have they done it this year where they're in the 7th and they need a big homer and they hit a 3-run shot, and all of a sudden it's like, well, Tennessee's back ahead. They're just competitors. That's who they are.
Yep. And you talk about riding the wave, talking about dealing with some adversity. Tennessee dealt with some adversity in their regional. I mean, you look at the breakouts of these 2 regionals and what they had to go through to get to where they are. Tennessee having Wake as a 2 seed and Cincy as a 3 seed. Woof. Like, that was not easy for a team that, quite honestly, caught a fringe regional at the very end. It was believed that they really shouldn't have hosted. If they hadn't, I don't think they're here right now. But again, them allowing to be like, oh, you don't think we should host? Well, then let us show
ultra
you.
Bad guys.
Let us show you why we're the bad guys. Meanwhile, Arkansas, very polished, very like white collar, like insert in meadow, like pull my tie up here. They draw Kansas, Creighton, and North Dakota State, which, again, no discredit to those teams, but I'll take that draw over what Tennessee had to deal with in Knoxville, and they just took care of business. You didn't hear a lot about the Arkansas regional because there was nothing really to note. Arkansas just took care of business. You heard from Tennessee because, again, their gameplay is loud, always. And how do you grab and keep momentum? You play loud. Their losses are loud because of their style of play, but their wins are deafening. Yes. And what better way to play the villain than go into a stadium that's going to have upwards of 12 to 14,000 people that just the raucous hog pen. Oh, yeah, they're going to be ready to be the spoiler. Doyle is going to act like he's got 90 milligrams of Adderall and 3 Red Bulls in his system, and he is going to be like, don't let him strike out the side in the first inning. Don't let him in the first inning with a strikeout. Certainly do not let Tennessee score. If you're Zach Root, 1, 2, 3, imperative in the first inning. If you let them get an ounce of momentum, I don't care if it's you get the first 2 guys out in 6 pitches with 2 strikeouts and you bean the 3-hole guy. You let them get an inch of momentum and they are going to take it and they are going to want to step on your throats. And honestly, too, Arkansas, there's a chance they could come into this regional to play not to lose, because Arkansas has been a host for a regional and a super regional, I think 3 out of the last 4 years or something ridiculous like that. And even their most loaded roster in 2022, they got a guy like Hagen Smith on the mound. Like in a couple years ago, or even I think it might have been last year. You can't win a super with that guy on the mound. Go in game 1, and then they had that closer that was throwing that had just as many innings as a starter. I can't even remember his name.
Set the Padres system. I know
Padres system set the Arkansas record for most appearances in a season. Yep. You know who I'm talking about.
I do. I can't think of his name.
But to my point,
yes,
you've got guys
before that. It was Kerstad. You had Kerstad for 3 years.
Yeah.
It seems like it's a tale as old as time with Arkansas, where they are the more polished team. They are the favorite. They are the team that you think is more well-rounded. And on paper, this team should win a national championship. But for some reason, they play like they should win a national championship and get a little bit complacent. They don't, like you said, they're not the competitors. They're the ball players, which
they're the professionals.
Exactly.
It's the professionals versus the inmates. That's really what it feels like. Mm-hmm. Where you've got an insane asylum versus the buttoned up, hey, we're going to take care of our business. We're going to be on top of all our stuff. Nothing's going to fall through the crack. Versus the guys that are just, no, we're just not going to lose. We refuse.
Augie used to have a saying to all the, like, about a team like Cal State Fullerton, like he was at, a team like Texas he was at for decades. He used to ask you, and every recruit, and they come on a visit, are you a prospect or are you a ball player? Because prospects could come in and be professionals, like you said, can come in and take care of business, have all the talent in the world, but they lack that grit. They lack that killer instinct, that X factor. We want ball players. And Tennessee has got some ball players. And they're going to, in that ballpark, they've got a lot of power hitting lefties. that ballpark in Fayetteville plays very, very well to a short porch for in right field for a lefty swing. I think Fisher could go off for 4 home runs in 3 games.
Okay, Duke, wasn't there some kind of statement or creed for University of Texas baseball that was it will not be entrusted to the timid or weak or something along those lines?
University of Texas winning tradition will not be entrusted to the timid or the weak.
Thank you. That is the identity of a Tennessee type team. That's what we're looking at here.
I think we get X amount of expletives before demonetized, so I'm going to use my one and only here. Tennessee's mantra is "fuck you, we're going to kill you." That's Tennessee's mantra. They are going. Their mantra is "F everybody else, it's us against the world," and then everybody's going to look at them like, "Okay, get off your high horse. You're the number 1 team in the country last year. Like you've got more prospects and more blue chip guys on your team than anybody else." Oh, we don't care. It's us against the world. Everybody's against us. We're going to beat you. We're going to stomp on your necks. Like, you're done. Good luck. And they lost that swagger for a little bit to end the year. But I think a good run in the SEC tournament. And certainly the NCAA knew what they were doing. And farming for money and getting a regional in Knoxville. But don't let the Volunteers get hot because Vitello is going to have those boys screaming and hollering going into Fayetteville. It's going to be very fun to watch. So, watch the UTSA UCLA regional because it's going to be Pacific Coast time. It's going to be on late. It's going to be some old-fashioned manufactured ball. And then you can watch Tennessee, Arkansas, and you can watch Coastal and Auburn. And you can watch some balls fly out of the yard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Subscribe to Wheels too for when you fall asleep during that West Coast time. Get the highlights back in.
I mean, there's no bigger shout out right now than to Wheels because every game of every regional was not only uploaded, but was uploaded a mere matter of maximum 15 to 30 minutes after the game ended. I mean, I don't know how he does it, but he does it and it's spectacular. So happened to fall asleep. Watch watch every game on Wheels. Watch it on TV, and like I'm going to. If you've got ESPN Plus, Squeeze Play is a phenomenal poll.
Right.
So
So by the time we chat next week, we will at least be there will potentially be a couple of Monday night games. So we will have most of Omaha put together, if not all of it by then. So here we go. So we would be remiss too watching the time. We got to talk about some pro implications and things that happened this week too. So quick shout out to young Jac Caglianone, Kansas City Royals getting the call. Royals are a wimpy 3 games above 500. I say that tongue in cheek because they are in the best division in baseball. Only team not above 500 in that division is the White Sox. But alas, Royals needed a shock to the system, and Cags kind of got to the point he kind of forced their hand. Hitting 322, OPS of 982, 15 taters is headed to the show. So this is interesting. If anything, I think there will be an adjustment period. I'm curious as to what they do with him defensively because the one game he's played DH, but just based off versatility, you think he gets some outfield reps. Pescatino is not quite the monster they had hoped he would be. He's going to get some first base reps. I'm curious. Anybody have thoughts? Where does Caglianone fit into this puzzle?
One, shout out to Victor Scott II for robbing Cags of his first extra base hit on a phenomenal play in the outfield. Hated it for Cags, loved it for baseball just to see a guy balling out and saying, "You're not going to get your first hit on me." I'm covering some ground out here in the outfield, but no, I think Cags is a much needed injection of power and like some fireworks in that Kansas City offense. Right. How they're playing offensively right now, I think they're asking a lot of them to come in and be essentially be a cushion for Bobby Witt. I mean, Pascantino hasn't been the guy. They need him to step in and be a powerhouse immediately to try to get them back in contention. He's been that guy all the way up through the AAA level, but getting a guy's feet wet in the major leagues in the midst of a potential postseason run, asking that of him, that's a lot. And that could damage his confidence and his development as much as it can maybe he rises to the moment. He put the bat on the ball well in his outing, but I think they're going to start off playing him in the outfield to get some reps. He's played the outfield before, but at a certain point, if Pasquantino doesn't step it up, you got to look at making Cags your for number one guy, your everyday first baseman. He's the guy that you have control over for the next 6 years until he gets enough service time under his belt to go for a contract. And your best case scenario is you have to pay him more in arbitration, but that means he's balling out. So I think at this point, you play him in the outfield, you give Pasquantino a little bit of time, and honestly see how he responds to the pressure of kind of getting pushed a little bit and having to fight for his job. And it's kind of a win-win if you're Kansas City, in that you get your top prospect at 1B and shed a little bit of contract money or reinvest it in somebody else to offload, trade Pasquantino to somebody that could use his services, or Pasquantino steps it up, and then you got to find a place for Cags, whether it's in a corner outfield spot or DH him.
Yeah, I think the call-up is not only warranted, but at perfect time. I mean, you're looking at a team that's one game out of the wild card right now. Hey, it's time to go, Cags. And I think I'm approaching it from a different vantage point than you both talked about, where I don't think this is to push Pasquantino. I think it's to take a little leverage off of him.
Okay.
I think it's, hey, let's get somebody behind you or in front of you, where that way one of you has to be pitched to. One of you isn't going to just get diced up with sliders. Like a different look to the point of, hey, it's not just you and Bobby, Vinny. Like that's not where we're at. We're going to bring in some more bats. We're going to try and do something to help y'all in this lineup, manufacture a couple more runs. Whoever plays first base, it doesn't matter between the two of them. The other guy can DH. You're all going to get at bats. We're not stressing on that. Yeah. Yes, I know Sal also needs to DH some games. Jack is athletic enough to play, like you said, a corner outfield first or DH. He can get all of those done. What I'm interested to see is, as they get down the road, do they get to a point where they're like, hey, Jack, you remember how you used to throw like 95, 97?
Yes.
What are the odds you're open to just like coming out of the bullpen for an inning, shut down, we all go home? What do you think about that?
I love it. Love it.
I don't see it being out of the question. I know he hasn't thrown it all. I don't think he just loses it.
No.
Especially a competitor like that. I think we saw, maybe not to a Liam Doyle effect, but a guy that would come off the mound pretty fired up in his outings.
Dare I say reliever-esque?
Exactly. I think it's a guy that, and as we've all seen, he's incredibly athletic. He's put together. He's not a guy that screams injury risk by doing both. I think the only risk you run at that point is like, okay, do we overextend him to a point where he now can't recover and he's not ready to take the mound a second time in a series? I think that's the only risk that they're looking at. But you look at a team that, starting pitching wise, I mean, Chris Bubich is having the year of his life right now.
Right.
You have to find a way. Yeah. Lynch, Bubich, and Reagans, you've got to find a way to get some run support there, because you're right there in the wild card if you just get a little bit of run support. And I would say between Pasquantino and Caglianone, there's a chance to support Bobby.
At that point, and like to your point there, Dowdy, I wouldn't have a problem with him. If Salvi needs a day off and he needs a DH for a game, then you put Cags in a corner outfield spot.
Yeah.
Or you rotate him at 1B. But I think day to day, I think he can be your day-to-day DH, purely from the fact that it's less exposure and the field and less throws no matter where he's playing. And I'm curious to see if Kansas City has him working in bullpens, just to at least keep the arm loose.
Stay fresh.
And stay fresh and stay ready, because I don't think his first outing comes, and if it does come, his first outing would come in a situation where you're down 8-10 runs. You need to kill 2 innings. You're throwing a position player up there anyway. Why don't we throw one of our position players up? No pressure. Go out and throw nothing but fastballs just to get a feel. If you flip in a slider, then so be it. Call it a live bullpen.
Yeah.
This game is already a wash. You're saving our real relief arms, and I say real facetiously.
Labeled
relief guys, to where you like go out and get some reps, and then
why not
kind of gauge it from there? Why not? He goes out and he dots up and he shoves. Okay, maybe we have something to work. He goes out and he hits everybody or he's hitting the bull behind home plate. And you're like, you know what? Experiment tried. Next time we have a situation like this, we can try it again, or we can gauge what you want, Cags. But at that point, like, I think we kind of have best case scenario, and I'm going to use this term very lightly. When I say Ohtani-esque, I'm purely talking about a two-way perspective.
Yes.
But at the best case scenario, it is a completely different two-way scenario. He's never going to be a starter in the MLB. But I think at the best case scenario, like Ohtani is a starting pitcher who when he doesn't pitch, he's an everyday DH or an everyday outfielder. But for the most part, really just a starter who DHs. He pitches when he's healthy, pitches every fifth day in the rotation, and he DHs. That's what he does. They don't need to put him in the field. They don't need to put any more exposure or any more throws on his arm. That's what he does. Cags is going to kind of be the opposite. He's going to be a relief pitcher. He's going to come in late innings, probably rare usage, not a closer that could come in 2 or 3 games in a row, but he's going to be a valued option out of the bullpen, and he's going to play every day in the field because they need that right now.
And kind of where my mind goes with that is you have the Tigers in your division. An overwhelmingly strong left-handed bat lineup.
Yep. Was it Buster Posey at Florida State that used to catch 8 innings and then run down to the bullpen in his shin guards and rip them off and then close out games?
Mm-hmm.
Cags isn't a catcher, but it would be something similar to that where you got to make a defensive substitution or move him to a DH spot and get him out of right field so he can go get warmed up in the bullpen and come in late innings. And again, this is all best case scenario. He very well could ride off into the sunset and just be a position player.
Yes.
But to your point, when you've got a guy with his frame, with the ability, he's already in the bigs to work with the big league staff and see how they can develop him with his frame, especially being a late inning guy. I don't see any reason why he couldn't touch 98, 99.
No, and he's a good mover.
And he's a phenomenal athlete.
How he moves in the box, how he moves around first base. There's nothing forced in his actions.
Mm-mm.
You don't see hitches. You don't see any of that. He just moves well. With that, you're looking at a guy that who knows what could be out of the bullpen. Like to say it's unrealistic is like, okay, we just had 2 recent case studies in Brett Phillips and Charlie Culberson, who both were position players that happened to throw as pitchers in blowouts. Now both those guys are pitchers.
I mean, Joey Gallo's making a comeback as a pitcher right now.
And he never threw as a pitcher.
Never, ever
threw he pitched in high school. That's about it.
No. And Cags also played in the best conference in college baseball and was dominant on the mound just as much as he was at the plate. So I'm excited. I'm excited that he's in the bigs right now offensively. I'm excited to see his future. Clontsy, what say you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think what Dowdy said too is the timing of this is probably what's most important on this, because what we looked at, what the Royals did well last year is just minimize faults. Everything went right for the Royals at the end of the stretch last year and why they got to the playoffs in the manner that they did. You're at a point to where, okay, I don't even think Hunter Renfroe's on the roster anymore. I think he's DFA'd. He contributed quite a bit last year. Witt is still one of the best players in baseball, but he's not playing to the capacity that he did last year. Pitching wise, they've made it work. We already talked about Bubic, Lynch. Who else? The pin, Urseg's been nails. You've had Taylor Clark come in, be a dog with that. But I still see a point they're looking at the standings where it's we got to start. Something has to start clicking. And so I agree that I think Cags is the shot in the arm to at least give that the opportunity to happen. I think the Royals, just with the history, you look at like the prospect development, you have like Hosmer, you have historically some success in developing first basemen. Prior to Pescatino, you had Nick Prado, who did not work out, could not hit. Great glove, no bat. They're not at a point to where I think they're going to give up on Pescatino to kind of repeat that cycle. But kind of what we talked about, if Cags coming in, getting some reps at first, taking the pressure off, lengthening that lineup a little bit helps. Why would you not? He's forced the hand to where the numbers are great. You have to look at it. So,
I mean, I think that the timing perfect from a standpoint too. It's very beginning of June. Trade deadline ends in the next 30 days. You bring Cags up and you say not anything to do with Cags or Pascantino. What I'm saying is the Royals as an organization will know in the next 2-3 weeks, really the next 2, where they stand and what they need to do going into the trade deadline to say, are we going to ride with the horses that have got us here? Do we have enough dogs offensively to support this electric pitching staff that's been performing on the top of their game so far this season? Or do we need to be buyers at the trade deadline? Do we need to look at adding some more offensive pieces just like to get us to that next level to where we can secure a wild card spot or we can compete for a division?
I don't think there's a world where there's sellers at the deadline. They're
never not going to be sellers, but I mean,
Right.
Are they going to be at a point where do you think they rest on their laurels and they say we've got enough? Or with CAG, up to this point, it's been we don't fully know because Caglianone is going to make his debut this year, and we don't know what kind of spark he's going to bring to the offense. Now he's up, and I don't think it's a coincidence that he's up with, got pulled up like with 30 days left before the trade deadline or with 30 days left before July starts. So what do we got in the next 2 weeks? Do we need to make any moves?
They need to be buyers without
they
a doubt.
need to be. They should be.
The offense needs help. And I think people acting like Vinny Pasquantino is having a bad year is just bad taste. Like that's people just having too high of expectations versus what he's been. He's consistently been a 1 to 2 win player per year. Right now, he's on pace to be right in the middle of that. He's at 0.7 WAR right now via Baseball Reference. To act like he's supposed to be the guy that's hitting 280 with 15 at this point is a little disingenuous. Like 260 with 8 homers, not bad production from a first baseman.
No.
Where's Christian Walker at? And he just got how much money?
Yeah.
Like, and that's not to throw anybody under the bus. No, but it's realistic of like, let's actually look at this.
How many other first basemen could you have used? Yeah.
I was going off the first big money guy that I thought of. It's just one of those where it's like, guys, let's not get so caught up in, he needs to drive in 110 RBIs and he needs to hit 35 homers. No, he doesn't have to if it's not where he is as a player.
Wasn't signed to be that guy. Wasn't expected to be that guy. It'd be a lot cooler if he was, but he's not.
It'd be great if everybody did that, but that's not how baseball works.
It's an adjustment of expectations because I think the world you probably hoped you were getting with Pasquantino is, okay, Whit bats 2, Pasquantino 3, when reality is Pasquantino's probably a 5 or 6 hitter on a strong lineup, which there's extreme value in that. That's not to diminish that at all, but it's come back down to earth a little bit. Like
if Pasquantino ends the year at 255 with 28 homers, is it a successful year?
Yes.
Then what are we talking about? Because that's the production level we're kind of looking at.
Yeah.
Like we're about a third into the season at this point, maybe a little further than that. And he's at 8 homers. So he started slow. Like, I think we're getting way overblown as a baseball community of, without him hitting, they're just not going to win. But like Duke touched on, Bobby Witt's having a slight regression as well. And while a regression for a guy that's averaging a 9 WAR season is crazy to say, you can't expect that to be his normal. Like Aaron Judge is having the greatest offensive season in history, possibly. And everybody's just like, oh yeah, it's just Aaron Judge per usual. Like, no, this is not normal.
It's never good enough, man.
Not normal. He's hitting 390 with an OPS over 1200. Not normal. People don't do this.
I mean, my guy in MLB The Show doesn't even have those numbers. Could be a skill issue. It could be user error. I don't know. But video game numbers.
Literally.
Okay. Real quick, before we get out of here, too, we're watching time. I'm going to do lightning round of a fact or fiction, and then how bad is it? So, fact or fiction, Lance McCullers coming off a resurgent 2 starts, 12 Ks in the start before this. Held the Pirates to 1 run, if any, yesterday. Actually, I think that was a shutout. So, is Lance McCullers back? Fact or fiction? Lance McCullers is back. Fact or fiction?
Fact.
I'll give you fact on that, and for one reason. The McCullers we originally knew was a big knuckle curve guy. Yeah? Everybody can agree on that? We all remember the World Series, 30 straight, whatever it was, crazy.
Yerp.
Again, that was his pitch. Lance McCullers has now reinvented himself. He is a sweeper guy. What you saw against the Pirates was a guy throwing a lethal sweeper out of the same slot as his heater and consistently landing it bottom of the zone and black away. Consistently getting calls that he may not have been supposed to get, but it doesn't matter. When you're that consistent with that pitch and it's that good of a pitch, because hitters know it's coming at a certain point. This is his go-to breaking ball, and they're still flinching. That's how good it is. As long as he continues to throw the sweeper, yes, Lance McCullers is back. I'm bought in.
Love it.
All in.
And then Duke, chime in on that.
I was just going to say, fact, I agree with everything Dowdy has said. I think he's adjusted himself. Things are different now because he's not trying to be the same pitcher that he was pre-injuries like he was each time that he came back from injuries. He's evolved himself. He's adjusted his arm slot. He's adjusted his mechanics. He's adjusted his approach on the mound and found a new, say, McCullers 2.0 identity that I think is going to play just as well as, if not better, than Lance McCullers of late or of old. And then also, I'm going to be the one to say it too. Houston fans have put a chip on his shoulder to where not only do I say fact McCullers is back, I also say fact that after his contract expires, he seeks opportunities elsewhere because I think Houston may have burned that bridge whenever they were death threats made to his family. He's been a different pitcher since that happened.
Yeah. Take it as it is. I hate
take it as it is. I may be reading too much into it, but
I mean, I'm seeing a parallel here. There was a guy with a really weird swing that was really into coffee that played as an Astro and then left and had a really good career elsewhere, Hunter Pence. Lance McCullers really into coffee, opening up coffee shops all over the place.
Okay. McCullers is definitely into coffee. You sure Hunter Pence was just coffee?
Well, I just I know him as a coffee shop owner and roaster, and yes,
love Pence.
He may have hit it. He may have hit like he was on something else, but
yeah. How did you not pull a muscle?
Little
violent. His on deck circle swings still go up in history as my favorite to watch. I mean, just the little like the little flinch in the on deck circle, choked up halfway up the handle. Oh, I love Hunter Pence. Anyway, rabbit hole. Next fact or fiction, Clontsy.
Yes, to close it out, Corbin Burns called the trainer out earlier this week. Pretty much, you could read him saying, "My arm's done." It's been sent for imaging. I believe results were supposed to come in like today or tomorrow. So we don't know yet the whole length or the span of the injury. Are we headed for the knife, guys? Is this Tommy John?
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't. Yeah. The look on his face said everything. He called the trainer out. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. He's had TJ before, hasn't he?
That I don't know.
Not recently.
The reason, not recent. I know for sure not recently, but what led me to believe that, I've seen guys pop their UCL in person for the first time. That didn't look like a first time reaction. That looked like he threw 92 down the middle. Wasn't a horrible pitch, but immediately afterwards he just said, I know what that is. I'm done. My elbow's done. I know.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty clear. Elbow inflammation and a second opinion. It's popped. I think that's everything we've seen from everybody this year that's had their elbow looked at. I believe Wisniewski was the same exact thing where it was elbow inflammation and a second opinion. You could see it on Burns' face. I think it now is very telling on everything you'd seen from the last 3 years, where it's a steady decline in velo. It's a decline in striking people out. He's starting to feel things, forearms getting tight. Okay, I can't spin it like I wanted to. This is all starting to make sense now.
Yep.
I mean, kudos to him for cashing in. It sucks for the Diamondbacks that now he's cashed out for, 18 months minimum?
Yep.
But it is what it is. It stinks, too, because I had Diamondbacks making the playoffs this year, and that makes it really hard without the race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially Corbin Carroll's having an MVP caliber season.
You can tell Marte's not playing too shabby as well.
Nope. But there's a stupid guy for the Cubs named Pete Crow Armstrong that is just arguably the greatest player in the NL right now.
Slim Shady himself? PCA? Slim Shady?
I mean, I know Clonty's got to be a big fan.
I have nothing against Pete Crow Armstrong.
Hey,
The hair
Speed guy goes, gets it in the outfield. Okay, being a singles guy, can pop some homers here and there. That's right up Clontsy's alley.
I tell you who Clonty's biggest, like who's the Clonty's the biggest fan of.
That's easy.
I think we all know. I mean, Luis Arraez is for sure, but you know who I'm talking about. Dowdy.
Say it.
Dowdy, want to know? Dowdy, I want you to hear it. I want to hear you say it. I want to see us on the same wavelength.
I'm just gonna make sure that we're all thinking of Jacob Wilson because all he does is hit singles and not walk. Yeah. All right. So
probably the rookie of the year. Yeah.
Jacob Wilson, I can get behind. I believe I picked him for rookie of the year. Just
probably.
Who else did?
Yep.
That guy. Just saying, Jacob Wilson can at least steal bags. Luis Arraez cannot. But on that note, Kyle Schwarber is having an outstanding season. Best player on the Philadelphia Phillies.
I knew that was going to be a segue.
I was about to say, Clontsy, hang your hat on Jacob Wilson and just ride that horse into the sunset because Schwarber's also having a career year. Be very curious to have a debate between the two of you at the very end of the year. Who would you rather have on your team between Schwarber and Wilson?
Is Wilson. 3 months into the season a 2.3 WAR good? Is that good?
Yeah. Dowdy, do you agree with that? You'd rather have Wilson on your team than Schwarber right now?
No. Are we going single season or are we going for career? Single
right
season
here,
or career?
Right here, right now. You're a buyer of the
season or career.
You're single season. You're a buyer right now.
Not even a question.
You're a buyer at the trade deadline right now.
2.3 WARs, 260 batting average, 19 homers. Give me that guy.
I can't answer the question. I'm building the dynasty.
He said single year.
I know.
A question. Where are the Athletics currently in the division? Not where Philadelphia is, right?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. And he's the best player on the team that's second in his division versus not the best player on the last team in his. Okay, just making sure. We're good. Yeah.
He doesn't get to hit in a non-cushion offense in Sacramento.
Oh, easy on the non-cushion. Rooker, Lawrence Butler, they got some cushion. Jake Wilson doesn't do
not the best team in the NL East cushion.
I don't know. That would actually be a really interesting debate for next episode.
I was just about to say
down the line of like production.
Yes.
Phillies versus Athletics.
I'd love to see that.
I mean, Harper's having a year so far. Like not bad, but not great. I think it's closer to Pascantino than it is to Schwarber. Alec Boehm, haven't heard a ton about. Castellanos, Trey Turner.
We haven't had that many national tragedies this year, so Castellanos' stats are pretty down.
Just wait, something will happen.
I was about to say, like Oprah will die and he'll hit.
I was going to say some actor or something, and he's going to interrupt it. And
where's the tragedy?
All right.
Whee! And with that said, 97 minutes in, this has been PenPals. Way to bring it on home.
Dude, get us out of here.
Catch y'all on the flippity flip.